Welcome to Global Entrepreneurship Week 2024. I'm Jonathan Altmans, and this is the 17th year since we founded this great global campaign to empower more citizens around the world to consider the path of entrepreneurship. And whether you're new to this field or whether you're one of the experienced builders and backers in one of our communities across the globe, you are now part of a movement that believes that we can solve problems, a movement in 200 countries that this week will attract over 10 million people to over 40,000 events. It's a very important campaign because it focuses on what we can create and build and do at a time when there's so many challenges for our world. And we really hope that you will look at this as an opportunity to be part of creating something new, building something better, of figuring out a new way of doing things with your fellow citizens. We believe that entrepreneurship is for everyone. In fact, that's our tagline and theme this year. It builds on the notion that we believe that entrepreneurship can happen anywhere, which is where we began this campaign, with trying to convince the world that Silicon Valley didn't have a monopoly on this. It could happen in any community, and it could happen to anyone. This week, you'll see a lot happening. I, for one, have the great privilege of speaking at the COP29 conference around the role that founders and startups have in actually coming up with solutions that can be implemented towards some of our climate goals, whether they're green tech or clean tech advocates, or whether they're simply looking at new solutions that will help execute what our government leaders feel is important to save our planet. We will also, in the other part of the world, it'll happen in Baku in Azerbaijan, but in another part of the world, in South America, in Rio, we'll be releasing our new G20 entrepreneurship report that will take a look at what are the latest trends and what are the latest developments happening in the major economies around the world within the global entrepreneurial ecosystem. I will also personally be in South Africa, where we'll open our latest Gen Campus, the 22 on Sloan Hub in Cape Town, an opportunity for us to show globally what can happen in a community that rallies around effective tactical strategies to enable more of its entrepreneurs to be able to succeed in their journey towards self-resilience and finding opportunities and turning them into reality. We'll have various members of our team in other parts of the world. In Europe, I know we have 3 members participating with governments. There's also going to be the Web Summit happening in Portugal. And perhaps most importantly, I'm very excited to say entrepreneurship will be celebrated in small left-behind communities across the United States. We're always so proud of the great campaigns that happen in Kansas City, the home of the Kauffman Foundation, which of course is the leader behind this movement, was the ones that developed the idea and has supported it from its outset. And we've been joined along the way by many companies, people like FedEx, who recognize the importance of empowering several communities and demographic groups that have been left out of this equation in the past. So I hope you'll participate wherever you are in the world, and that you're enjoying this week, and that you'll take a look at what's happening, whether on the research side or whether finding out what's happening in a community different to your own. But I also hope if you get excited about this world and you're keen to think, how do I take a next step? We are very pleased to announce that for the first time in many years, since it was actually initiated, the Global Entrepreneurship Congress will be returning to the United States. It'll be held in Indianapolis in Indiana, the first week of June of 2025. If you're planning a trip to the United States in 2025, please plan it around that time. Come and join us. Come and meet many of the leaders of the ecosystems across the world, where we'll have thousands of representatives, both leaders, investors, as well as, of course, the founders and the entrepreneurs and small businesses that are being enabled by this great movement. We'll all gather in Indianapolis for a week, and it's a great chance for you to make new friends, to create opportunities, and to walk away empowered with the understanding that actually this is a genuinely global movement in every nation, despite the fact that on the front pages of our newspapers we see evidence of divisions among our nations and certainly among our geopolitical leaders. So if you're looking for a positive outlook for the future and you're thinking that you'd like to do a face-to-face connection, I hope that during Global Entrepreneurship Week you will think about whether you can find a way to make it to the United States. You can go to gec.co to register. But in the meantime, enjoy Global Entrepreneurship Week and for everything that your community has to offer. And I want to thank you for giving this your thought, your time, your energy, as we all work together to figure out better ways of doing things. And we embark upon what is a profound mission to find ways that we can improve not just our lives, but those of our fellow citizens around us. Happy Global Entrepreneurship Week.
Good afternoon to you, and welcome to the 50 Plus Women Entrepreneur Panel, Part 2. This is a cornerstone event of Global Entrepreneurship Week 2024 for us at SLUDTERA, our final event for the week. I'm your moderator, Michelle Samuel, and it is such an honor to be here with you again today. Again, this year's theme was entrepreneurship is for everyone. And as I stated yesterday, it aligns, or should I say on Friday, it aligns perfectly with our panel in such an unorthodox way because of the fact that these are women that are going into entrepreneurship at an older age. But remember, entrepreneurship is for everyone. And so should there be boundaries? Should there be gatekeepers? Should there be hurdles that exist to almost make it too difficult for persons 50 and over to actually start a business? Should that be the case? And we're discussing this very topic with three wonderful, extraordinary women who decided to launch businesses later in their lives. And I'm referring to Miss Lisa Heather Yard, founder of List Value, whose mission is to help women and young girls reclaim their self-worth, and her elderly care business, which she newly founded as a result of a personal, very tragic incident that occurred involving her mom. Miss Karen Tobier, who is an events management expert and cultural preservation advocate, who has ventured into a new field of career, although she had been doing this for quite some time, but realized that she could actually monetize this in CT Consult, where she can now use her passion and be able to support herself. And finally, Madonna Florenville, a dedicated educator, an advocate for youth development, devoting several years of her life towards educating our youth, educating the next generation of St. Lucia. and wanting to give back by now inviting persons to enjoy our beautiful St. Lucia through Florin Villa 758, a perfect testament to her unwavering commitment to service and innovation. And all she wants to do is do what she loves while giving back. But can she do that effectively at her age with what is available to her, with the policies that exist, with the opportunities that exist for people her age? We're going to dive into that. We are going to go into part 2 of this discussion. And I'm glad to have Miss Karen Tobia back with me again this evening. We're going to continue with the remainder of the recordings that I have from our two other ladies, but you will want to stick around to hear what each of them have to say, especially if you yourself are in the age group of 50 and over. But before we go any further, let us begin with prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, I want to thank you for taking us through the week and the weekend. Thank you for the day. Thank you for the night. And thank you for this session. Thank you for these opportunities, these frank, candid conversations where persons can share their experiences and vent what it is that their frustrations are, as well as talking about their successes. Father, Lord, I ask that you be with us in this session today. Amen. So, as I stated before, this is part 2 of the 50 plus entrepreneur woman panel. And for those of you who would have missed part 1, you are free to look up part 1, which took place on Friday afternoon. It will be in the description of this particular video. After the live has ended, you'll be able to revert and take a look at the very first set of questions that were asked and what our young ladies had to say. And of course, I'm going to piggyback off of those previous responses as we move through to the questions for this evening. So I am going to, of course, bring on my live guest who is joining me in studio, Miss Karen Tobia. Karen, welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for agreeing to be here again this evening with me and for sacrificing a portion of your Sunday for me. Thank you. You're muted. You're muted.
Good afternoon, Michelle. Good afternoon to everybody who is listening in, tuned in. It's nice to be back, Michelle. Looking forward to some more frank conversations
Mhm.
and sharing, basically, and sharing what the
Yeah.
experience has been like.
Yes. And you shared with me um, that you actually enjoyed our last conversation.
I
Uh,
did.
you enjoyed it quite a bit. Can you, before we move into our questions, can you share with persons who are joining us for the first time, just a little synopsis of what you would have already covered in terms of who you are, what you do, your background, especially if they are hearing or seeing this for the first time? Can you just give us a little bit of that first before we move into our questions?
Okay, so last week, I think that was Friday, sorry, we were sharing on who we were and what we were doing and how comes we ended up where we are now. And I had indicated that um, my life experience would have taken me from the tourism industry, the legal field, into the tourism industry, into teaching and facilitating as well. And so, and events has just always been a huge part of what I do. Uh, then came COVID, and as with a lot of offices, what I had done was I left the tourism industry. I left the hotel industry actually after I had my son, my younger son. I recognized that if I wanted to be a part of his life, I could not continue with the job that I had. It was a very cushy job. It took long hours. The pay was fantastic. And I left that. I left and I chose a job with a lower paying salary with less perks because I wanted to spend time with my son. Uh, that having been said, as with most journeys, my journey took me away from that. And so during COVID, I was actually working with a legal firm, which is what law is a hobby. I've always loved law in as much as I do events and all of those things and the other part of me. Law has always been a hobby. So I've never really been too far from it. So I was working with a legal firm and COVID came and a lot of structural changes were made during that time, as with most offices. And I found myself out of a job, out of a 9 to 4 job. And at that point in time, I was trying to figure out, well, what do I do? Do I jump back into working 9 to 4? Um, which is what I tried to do at the beginning. In a strange way, I never really sent out any resumes or anything like that, but I was having conversations with other corporate friends, because my network is wide. Um, and then I realized that women in particular in the 50 plus age group don't get jobs because people see you as old, um, and people think of you as old. Ageism in St. Lucia is a very real thing. And I was literally wandering in the wilderness, kind of trying to figure out what I was going to do. Of course, during that time, people who knew me, a couple of people of my friends and that, called and said, "Well, what are you doing?" And I'm like, "Well, nothing really. I'm trying to get work and trying to get stuff to do." They said, "Really? So what, can you help me do this?" And it was in the legal field. "Can you help me do this? Can you do a deed for me? Can you do a name change for me? Can you do a mortgage for me?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." Because these are simple things, really, if you know what you're doing. And starting from there, it kind of blossomed into me realizing that this was something that I could actually monetize for myself and that there was a market for independent workers, even in the legal field. So what I have done is combined my legal experience and what I do, my paralegal work with my events. And it's a strange combination, but it has started. I'm making it work for me right now.
Right.
That's where I am. That's the journey.
Okay. So there you have it. Those of you who will be watching the replay for the first time, this is Karen in a nutshell, what you would have just missed. So like I said, if you would like to get a better idea of context of the conversation, feel free to take a look at the description below on the very first video and you can watch that. But let's go into our questions for this evening, Karen. I'm sure you're excited about these questions. So let's dive right into them. So the very first question that I have for this evening is about balancing life and entrepreneurship, balancing life and work. Um, how have you balanced your business with the other life responsibilities that exist, such as family, personal growth, mental health, physical health, your free time? How has that? How have you been able to do that? So we're going to start with Lisa, then Madonna, and then Karen. I will come to you, which will give you some time, to come up with your response to that question. So let's hear what Lisa had to say with regards to that question.
In life and an entrepreneur. Oh, for me, it's very simple. I work Monday to Friday. I do not work late hours. I do not work on weekends. I always believe that sleep is very, very important. And if
I do apologize. Let's let the technology catch up with us. Okay, so I'm going to do this again. I do apologize for this, guys. Let's try this again. Let's give this another try. Okay, so we're gonna come back to Lisa's response. Let's go to Madonna. Let's find out what Madonna had to say. When technology says, "Oh, you think you have me?" Okay, well, technology still has not gotten the best of me. Still has not gotten. So we're going to get these recordings. Just one moment. I'm going to put them on the screen for you guys. Let's go straight into that. So Lisa's response to that question. Let's go.
Balancing life and an entrepreneur. Oh, for me, it's very simple. I work Monday to Friday. I do not work late hours. I do not work on weekends. I always believe that sleep is very, very important. And if anybody knows me out there, you know I love my sleep. Not rest, my sleep. I do rest. I do take time for myself, whether it be just going by some of my girlfriends. We talk, we chill, we have some good time, whether it be just sitting home, having a hair wash day, take care of my locks. These are the things that I schedule for myself. These are the things that I purposely, and note that I said purposely and intentionally do it for myself, because if you don't, you're going to be drained. If you don't, you're going to be sad. If you don't work, fine. That's not a problem. You can work. But it has to be balanced. There are times that you just need to just shut the laptop, shut the brains from work, forget about the profits for a while, and say to yourself, I need time for myself. Well-being, because I teach women that it's important for a healthy mindset. It's important to have a wealthy look about you. And honestly, I have to be part of that. I cannot not be part of it. I have to be part of it. So I have to lead by example. But I always say, and as I said, people out there who know me, personally know me, I always tell them, make sure that you sleep. Make sure you take time for yourself. Make sure guess what, people? For me, balance, a nice glass of wine, middle of the night, in front of a television, totally quiet, with my 2 cats, and I'm good to go.
There you have it, with her 2 cats, and she is good to go, right? That is what she had to say. Her 2 cats, and she's good to go. So now let's hear what Madonna does in terms of her self-care. Like, how does she balance that for herself? So let's take a look at what Madonna had to say to that question.
In life and business, it's all about finding your rhythm. Thankfully, I am a woman of faith, and I have benefited greatly from following God's plan for physical, spiritual, and emotional well-being. Religiously, once a week, every seventh day, I lay down my tools and I relax in the presence of the Lord. So, whether there's work or no work to be done, every seventh day, that has been a day to look forward to rest and relax body, mind, and spirit. Additionally, my family and I, we share our workload. Like I said, each one of us, we have our responsibilities, and sometimes we reach out to others, even doing the things that are not the immediate responsibilities, but we assist each other. We don't allow each other to suffer burnout. We also make time for relaxation. We make sure we are intentional and deliberate about finding time for recreation and social activities. Also, working with the tourist industry is seasonal. There's closed season and open season. There's downtime and active time. So I use the downtime to be able to take better care of myself. I like to read books that are motivational. I like to listen to inspiring podcasts and so on. I love inspirational quotes. I love motivational songs. So I feed myself on that a lot of the time to carry me through.
All right, there you have it. So Lisa shared that, she takes time for herself. She loves her sleep. She has her glass of wine. She washes her locks. She watches TV. She has her cats with her. Madonna designates one day out of the week where she lays down everything, and she doesn't look for that day. And plus, she has a family where each person has their role that they have to play, so that works for them. So Karen, how do you manage with
I'm
your
I'm jealous of these ladies, you know. But my life is a busy one. It has always been, and that is because of my extracurricular activities. So I've always been involved in the arts, and in that, and in a lot of ways, for me, that's relaxation as well. So
interesting?
yes, so when I am involved in a theater production, it's not work for me because it's something that I genuinely love doing.
Mhm.
If I am doing events has a very different what's the word I'm looking for? Events operate differently. Because if you're doing an event, you're almost working 24 hours, depending on the nature of the event that you are doing.
Okay.
Um, so if I am, for example, if I am planning a wedding, I like to make sure that I am available to my bride. So I will always say, call me at any time. I am not a very early sleeper. I actually operate more during the night. So I'm usually up very late. So I always say, call me. If you have something bothering you and you're not sure about it, call me. And so if I am doing that, focusing on that only, then my life is crazy. And that's one of the reasons why, remember, I said I got out of the hospitality industry.
Right. Mm-hmm.
That is one of the reasons why I did that, because my job was communications and events.
Mm-hmm.
I literally found myself some days going to work in the morning. In fact, anybody who worked with me will tell you that my office had a wardrobe, because
Wow.
there were days when I went to work in the morning and I don't know what time I would be going home. I would have to host a dinner. I would have to do something. So I would go to work in one outfit and come home in a different one, find a room somewhere, take a quick shower, change and everything. And then I'm sitting to dinner with a client. And so that was a little hectic. Now I am almost just as busy, because I think when you are working with yourself, there are a lot more hours that you put in, and
Yes.
be,
Mm-hmm.
you need to be, like Lisa said, you need to be very deliberate in what you do. For me, I find times during the day for pausing. If you ever met my mom, she would tell you my answer to everything in this world is a cup of tea. When I am agitated, when I am annoyed, when I need a break, when I am excited, I'll pause and make myself a cup of tea. It's my little way of regrouping. So ordinarily, somewhere about in the morning, I'm having a cup of tea just to start my day off quiet. During the day, I may have one or two in between, just to refocus kind of thing. So getting the ritual of making a cup of tea helps me calm down and refocus. And in the evening, somewhere between 5 and 6 o'clock in the evening, that is my tea time. Don't disturb me. I am sitting with a cup of tea and myself then. And so for my busy days, that's how it is. So this is my break. And then usually in the evening, I would start off again. In addition to my entrepreneur work, I also run the Caribbean Women in Leadership, which is a not-for-profit women's organization, regional women's organization. I am the chair of the St. Lucia chapter. Now, this happens, everything that happens with Civil happens in my spare time. So I
Oh,
must be very deliberate in what time I am devoted to that. And there are some times during the night when I just stop, I turn off my laptop, I turn on the television, I make myself a cup of tea, and I'm done for the day. I know I'm not touching it again.
mm,
Times on a weekend, the sea is my go to place. So when I am overwhelmed and I feel overwhelmed, I find myself, I take a walk along the beach. Again, that is my time to just chill and refocus, just sit with nature for a little while. Um,
right.
and so my home, very deliberately, I chose where I live. When I look outside, if I show you my view, you will understand what I mean. When I look outside of my house, I am
Mm-hmm.
looking at the sea,
Wow.
looking at the sea. I have a view of the sea. I can see all the way to Martinique. I can see Port Rodney at Pigeon Island. I have that kind of view. I was very deliberate about choosing that view because that calms me down. It is
Wow.
another way of me just taking a few minutes to just say, wow, yeah, this is what it is. And that would calm me down. And then I do ice cream. That's comfort food.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So
Wow.
find different ways and different types to balance it off. Luckily for me, I don't have any young children. I have two boys. One is in the UK, and my last son is 23. So I don't have younger children or babies that I have to take care of. They're adults, and my son is very independent. So I am not thinking constantly of taking care of him and getting him to school and that sort of thing. I don't have that added pressure. I have a very small family. Um, most of my closest family are in the UK. And so going to the UK is like going home for me. When
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely need to shut down and run away from everything, I buy a ticket. And I do that sometimes when I get overwhelmed. I buy a ticket and I go to the UK. And sometimes when I get to the UK, I sleep for the first week. I do nothing else but just sleep. It is
Wow.
my place of comfort. My big sister is there. She and I, that's where she is. That's home. So I get in, I drop my bags, I go to my room and I sleep. And during that week, she will cook and she will do everything. And she'll just be saying, Karen, you're not coming to eat. And I literally will sleep. My brother is up there as well. He understands my son. So that first week, I'm just sleeping. And I do that very often. Sometimes I run away once. I used to be able to run away once a year. I can't afford
Mhm.
to do it right now. So I have to find other ways once I am here to just disconnect. I can tell you, like right now, I'm going through a period where I know I really, really, really need to disconnect. So I
Okay.
am trying to put in to finish a lot of things that need to be finished and not to look at the things that I know need to get done for next month and that sort of thing. I am shelving that for a little while because I recognize that right now I am operating on overload. And so I'm looking for a little place to just go and hide out for a little while. Take
and
some
and it's
days,
interesting that
just do that.
you're saying that you you're finding, you have to try to find, time to go to hide and so on. And what I have noticed in each of your responses, Lisa, Madonna, and your responses, is that you each have an avenue through which you can actually, take your rest.
Mhm.
And each of your circumstances are very different because Lisa being a single mother with one child, Madonna being a married mother with children, adult children, yes. You being a woman with adult children, one who's there with you and one who's overseas, and you have family as well that is overseas. These are three different scenarios, but each of you have found ways to sort of disconnect from the overwhelm. And
And like Lisa said, it has to be very deliberate. You
deliberate.
have to
Okay.
very, very deliberately tell yourself, I am taking a break. And that is why I said part of my ritual on a daily basis is the breather with a cup of tea. That is a ritual for me. I
Mm.
take a um and so you must find, because you lead busy a busy life, you must be very deliberate in what you do and how you position yourself, and get the break happening. Because if you are not deliberately focusing on that, you will find yourself operating on burnout all of the time.
And we don't want that. We definitely do not want that, especially at, and again, we say that lightly, especially at that age.
That is correct.
We
That is
don't want
correct.
that. We definitely don't want that. So let's go straight into our next question. Our next question is about age and experience as an advantage. Now, previously, we were talking about age as a disadvantage in a sense, but now let's sort of flip the script a bit and see how age would play to your advantage, your experience would play to your advantage. So, how would that have influenced the business decisions that you made, your leadership style, your resilience in times of difficulty when challenges come your way? How would your age, your experience would have a greater effect or greater impact on those things? So let's find out what Lisa had to say, Lisa and Madonna, and then we'll come back to Karen.
Guess what, people? If I was younger, I wouldn't be here. If I was younger, I still would not be here. If I was still younger, I would not, definitely not be here. And what I'm saying is this: as you get older, you're supposed to be wiser. Yes, yeah, there's some truth to that. Not every age person is wise. That I've found out the hard way sometimes. But as you get older, experience would have taught me some things you just leave it alone. Some things you go with the process. Some things you act right away. And experience has always taught me some things you need to ask for help. So, with that said, my age and experience as an advantage, I'm not afraid to say I need some help. I'm not afraid to fail. Because guess what? To me, failure is my biggest success. That's what happens. How do I get through the difficult times? Simple. Guess what? I have a coach. I call on my coach. He's my mentor. He guides me through. He's very, very tough, very, very brutal. But at the end of the day, he will set me on a path that I will now have to sit back, literally sit back, and watch the tide roll and see what happens after.
All right, and there we have Lisa's contribution. Now let's hear from Madonna and what she had to say to that question.
Over 50, my life experiences have undoubtedly shaped my leadership style and my ability to navigate challenges. So let me share a few of the ways I've been able to navigate through my challenges.
Okay, so we're having another technical glitch again. So let's come back to Madonna's response.
Man over 50, my life experiences have undoubtedly shaped my leadership style and my ability to navigate challenges. So let me share a few of the ways I've been able to navigate through my challenges. I've learned not to wait until everything is perfect for me to start something that is on my mind to do or have been wanting to do. There will never be a perfect time. Make a start. And when you make a start, things will fall into place, doors will open. But don't wait till you have all the ducks in a row. Take small steps, gradual steps, and with determination, things will fall into place. Secondly, be willing to put in the effort, be willing to put in the work, because it will take effort, it will take hard work. So don't be afraid of the hard work, put in the effort, and when it comes down to it, you will be satisfied when you look back at what you've been able to achieve through thick and thin, through the highs and lows. You'll be proud of yourself for what you have been able to achieve. Now, in your business, there are times you have to lead differently. So there are times you have to lead from the front. You take the bull by the horn and you lead out to get things going. And there are times, especially if you have staff members, you have workers, sometimes you have to lead from behind, especially if you see the person or persons, they're capable of doing the work. Don't always be in their face and holding their hands. If you see they're able to lead from behind, let them do the work, and while they're doing the work, you compliment and you give guidance as necessary, but don't always think that you have to fix things and you give them to do something, but you're in their face all the time. You're not allowing them to grow. So allow your workers to grow, lead from behind when necessary. And sometimes you have to lead alongside. So you side by side, you're doing the work to see that the business progress. So you have to think smart, think when is it important that I lead from behind to get the thing going? When should I lead from the back and let my workers be in the spotlight? Empowering them. This is empowering your workers. Let them know that you believe in them and they can do the work. And compliment them as they do the work. Yes, complimenting is important. Don't take all the praise of the business for yourself. It should be a team effort. If you're not the sole person doing the managing the business, give the compliments to your team as they work along with you. Let them know that they're important to the success of the business. Don't be afraid of making mistakes, because mistakes will happen, and it's not the end of the world when mistakes happen. So when that you go through your mistakes, always take time to think, why did that happen? What can I do differently? What is my plan B? And how can I make things better? Don't just give up and say, wow, I have tried this thing and it's not working, so I give up. And you keep on, there's a mistake that people do, is moving from one to the next, not realizing that learning and making mistakes is a part of the full experience. So don't be afraid. When you make the mistakes, Take a moment to breathe. Take a moment to evaluate and see why the mistake was made. Recalibrate, go to plan B or C or D. And this is how you will go.
All right. There we have it. There we have it. So, Karen, you heard what these two wonderful ladies had to say. So, let's talk about you now.
All right. Experience and living has taught me to breathe through difficulties. Madonna spoke about her grounding in her religion. I'm not sure that I can claim religion, but I have a grounding in faith and in God. And I thank my mom for that. I grew up in an Adventist home. My
Okay.
sister was Pentecostal. I went to Catholic schools my entire life. So I was right along the middle there. So I have a grounding in God and in faith, and that has taken me through a lot.
Mm-hmm.
There were times when I honestly didn't know where I was and what was happening, but I just knew that there was a greater power, and that if I made my needs known to Him, that He would take me through. And
Right.
I have been taken through some things, I will tell you, that I have no idea how I came through it, and I say,
Mm.
but God.
Only God.
I
Mm-hmm.
know that He was there holding my hand. When I turned 50, I remember that the day of my birthday, I turned 50. I told some of my friends there was a carnival party, because my birthday always falls in the middle of carnival. I love carnival. There was a carnival party at Pigeon Island. I think that party only happened twice and it never happened again. It was actually skewed towards a more mature audience.
Okay.
I said to my friends, birthday parties up the road, that's where I'm going to be for my birthday.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember waking up that morning, and on my way up to Pigeon Island, I was talking to myself and I said, consciously, I am now 50 years old. I am not going to let anything stress me out. I am not going to dwell on anything that I cannot do anything about.
Right.
I remember it some many years ago, I read one of Franklin Covey's books, and in there he was talking about things that you have influence over,
Mm-hmm.
that you don't have influence over, your circle of influence, and being able to determine which one is what you can influence and which ones are the things that are of concern, but you
Right.
cannot influence them. And so I have been very, very conscious of the things that I can change and the things that are of concern, but I cannot do anything about. I try to always, every time something comes up, I look at it that way and I say, okay, now, is this something that I am concerned about, or is this something that I can influence and that is really affecting me?
Yeah.
It's just something that is concerning and is not something that is actually going to impact me. I'm tuning that out. I'm not going to dwell on that and make myself miserable. So that was a very conscious decision that I made at 50 years. And I have tried to maintain it since then. I think my years in this world has taught me to be, I have always been very outspoken, and
Right.
it's something that I know sometimes also along the way, I know sometimes that I can be very blunt. I am trying not to be as blunt.
Blunt and truthful.
Nevertheless,
I
I
get
still,
accused
I am
of that
still
as
here.
well. I get accused
I am
of that
still
as well.
outspoken. I will still tell you if the thing is wrong, because I believe that communication takes care of everything.
Mm-hmm.
do
I
something.
believe in effective communication,
That's
100%.
correct. So if you are doing something that is affecting me and I cannot tell you that it is affecting me, it is going to continue.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Um, and so for me, when that happens, I believe that I should be in a position to be able to tell you that whatever your behavior is and whatever it is, we need to work on that and change it. And
Mm-hmm.
I walk away from it. That's the other thing that I have taught myself to do, is to walk away from things. I do not revisit things. And when I say that, if we disagree about something, I will tell you, Michelle, you know what you did there was really, just not proper. And we will disagree about it. And it may reach a point where I may say to you, okay, let us agree to disagree. And if it gets to that point, I will walk away. It doesn't mean that our friendship or our relationship is broken. I have just learned from that now, but I am walking away and I'm not going to be revisiting that. So I will not be 5 years down the road, something happens and I come back and say, remember when you had done me so and so, 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 so. No. I say what I need to say and I walk away. I leave it there and I walk away. I thank my mother for teaching me that. It was a very difficult thing to learn, but
Mm-hmm.
it has helped me with my emotional and mental well-being. I do not carry anything anymore than I need to.
And that is something, of course, that you would have had to to purposefully do
Yes,
again,
yes,
taking into
very purposeful.
consideration taking into consideration all of what you would have had to bear throughout your years, and your experience, would have trained you, would have told you what you need to tag on to and what you just need to let go, just as
Yep.
Lisa would have stated. But
Hmm.
then also looking at the fact that, for some situations, you realize that if you hang on to it, it's going to actually be detrimental to yourself
That
as
is
opposed
correct.
to the
That
other
is correct. You
person
see, when they say
you're
that
having that with,
you have to forgive people, not for them,
but
but
for
for
you.
yourself.
Hmm.
I had a very traumatic experience with my son's dad. He was my long-term partner. My mom died, and we broke up somewhere around the same time. So I was dealing with two sets of grief at the same time. It was a very, very traumatic time for me. So that decade, my 40 to 50 decade in my life, was I was topsy turvy. A lot of people did not know that, because when people see me, they don't see these things. Um, but for me, on a personal level, it was a very, very traumatic time for me.
Hmm.
And when I got, and I think that led to my promise to myself at 50, because I had been carrying this thing for 10 years and thinking, how am I dealing with this? What am I doing? How am I? And I purposely said, I am not going to do myself that anymore, because I recognized that a lot of it was bothering me. I
Right.
take that same attitude with my work. The people who I have worked with will tell you I am a very hands on manager. I do not assign tasks that I cannot do or that I am not able to do. Um, and part of that came through with my experience in the tourism industry. I
Hmm.
often wonder when I see supervisors and that, standing up somewhere and saying to somebody, you do that over there, you do that over there. I In the tourism industry, managers don't have that privilege. If you walk down, you work in a hotel and you're a manager and you walk down into the restaurant and the restaurant is busy, you will be clearing tables and setting tables to help your staff at that time, because your priority is not to tell the staff what to do. Your priority is to make sure that your guests are happy.
Hmm. That's right.
And that has taught me a lot as well. So people that I work with, when you do events as well, you cannot do any event by yourself. You do events through people. You are getting the event done through people. So if you have no people skills and you cannot relate to the people that you are dealing with, and chances are for you to get one event done, you are interacting with all sorts of people. You need casual labor. You need the bright sparks. You need the person, your client, who may be telling you some. Let me tell you, I've had some people tell me some real rubbish. And you have to decipher the rubbish and make it make sense. Like somebody calls to you and tells you, can you help me plan my wedding? And you say, oh, what do you envisage your wedding to be? Oh, I want a nice wedding. That word is used all the time. But what is your nice?
Nice is supposed to
What
mean
is your level of
pretty.
nice? And sometimes your nice is based on something you may have seen somewhere. So
Mhm.
it really, communication is key, because if in my field of work, if I cannot communicate clearly, I am in problems. In the legal world as well, when a client comes to me and asks me to do something for them, with them, I am speaking, a client may speak with me in confidence for the attorney who is not there.
Right.
I have to take in that confidence. I can't go and speak about this to anybody else.
Hmm.
So I am dealing with that. And so I need to now sit down and decipher that. And if I am unable to do it, ask for help. So all of these things are things that as you go along, you learn that sometimes being quiet is the best way to be. Sometimes
Hmm.
being noisy is the best way to be. And these are things that you don't it's not things that just happen. It's actually life experiences that take you through these things and teach you all of those things. So I think that I am at a point now where I have learned so much. Even sometimes I speak with my male friends, and they're talking about experiences that they're having, and I'm just sitting down there and I'm like, really? And they say, Karen, if this was you, what would you do? I said, me. I remember having this conversation one time with this lady. And she was just pulling her hair out because her husband was out playing dominoes every Friday night. And she said to me, she thought after they got married, he would stop. Now, he had been doing this all before. So I'm looking at her and I'm like, I said, but you must be crazy. If you never said to him that it was a problem before, why is it a problem now?
And
She
you
said, oh,
expect it
now
to
the
change
marriage is different. I'm
after
like, no,
the,
no,
the
no, no.
marriage. Wow.
And we were having this conversation, and he was sitting there. He said, Father God, why I did not marry you, Karen? I said, because by now I would have killed you. I said, having said that, though, you need to be a little more cognizant. So I said to her, well, instead of quarreling about the dominoes, maybe a couple of nights, I said, nah, don't go and play dominoes with him. That will lead to another story, because where your
Mm.
head is right now. I said, so if Friday nights are his dominoes nights, make Friday nights your ladies' night. Go out with your girlfriend whilst he's out somewhere. You find something else to do with your time. So you're not sitting at home waiting for him. Why are you sitting at home waiting for your husband to come home? What's that? Get up, find something that you like to do and go and do it. And he's looking at me now. Now he's looking at me funny. I said, but it's okay for you to go play dominoes and it's not okay for her to go out.
Ah, the shoes on the other foot. Now.
Yeah.
Mm.
So he looked at me and he said, well, he said, honestly, Karen, I never thought of it like that. I said, but these are conversations that you're supposed to be having as people. So I think as you get older, you have different experiences, you learn different things.
Mhm.
I'm in a happy place with myself in my life right now. I'm in a very happy place. Mentally, sometimes, and when I say that, it doesn't mean that there are not things that bother me and worry me. There are things that bother me. There are things sometimes I wake up in the morning and I say, Father God, take me through this day, because I really don't know how I'm going to do it on my own.
Right.
Um, and I leave it there. That's the other thing. And I leave it there. Again, life has taught me that when I say, take me through this, because I don't know how I'm going to do it, I am not walking out of the house thinking, oh my God, no, because I have already said, take me through it, because I can't do it on
At the
my own.
feet of the
And so
master.
my grounding in my faith and my experiences has put me in a place now where I think, yeah, bring it on. Bring it on. We're
Praise
ready.
the Lord. Praise the Lord. But we're going into our next question. And this one, I want you to really think about this one, because this one is about doubting yourself.
All the time.
And it's going to be about skepticism from other people and criticisms and so on. So that's the next question we're going to go into. And I am very, very eager to hear what our ladies had to say. And then, Karen, we're going to come back to you. Let's hear from Lisa.
Yes, I did. There was a time I felt like selling my own business and just or giving up on it. It's not as
Just a second. Just a second. Um, I want you to be very clear on what she started off by saying, okay? So the question was about doubting, again, doubting herself and the skepticism regarding her age. So I want you to understand exactly from the beginning what she said. Okay? Keep that in mind, guys. Okay, so we're having that issue again. So I'm going to pull the file. I'm going to pull the file again, and we're going to get to Lisa's response. So again, we are talking about the question of facing and overcoming doubts, skepticism from persons, the comments they would have made about starting a business at an older age. Not saying that there's anything wrong with it, but what would persons have to say, and how you feel about the whole situation. So let's hear Lisa.
I did. There was a time I felt like selling my own business and just or giving up on it. It's not as easy as persons view it. Being an entrepreneur can be very, very tasking. You have to give your time, you have to put in the monies that you make, sometimes or that you have saved back into the business, and sometimes all the monies. Persons will doubt you, family, friends, they will doubt that what you're doing will ever make sense. But at the same time, all that doubting and all that skepticism, all that kind of stuff like that, there's still a little bit of truth. When I was going through mine, one of the things that people doubted me for is that I will never last. Because the first 7 years of a business, they said, is very, very tough, which is very true. That's where the profits start. Guess what? I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up until the point where somebody from social media called me, which I have no idea who that is up to now, and they told me something that has stayed with me forever. They said, am I speaking to Lisa? I said, yes. One of the things that you want to understand about the coaching business is that everybody has a problem. And once you can identify that problem confidently, you will be on a confident road to success. You may not be making the millions or what you want to say, the thousands as yet, but for sure, at some point, all your doubts, all your fears will be so small that you'll wonder what they were before. Now, there's some truth to that, because I'm seeing the question, I'm facing and overcoming doubt. I never thought of it until now I'm doing this recording. I tried my best to just think back, but guess what? It's not as easy as it looks. But you have to first admit to yourself where you went wrong, what are you doing wrong, who should be around you, number one, and move on. Don't stay too long in that doubting phase. It's good to doubt yourself, but it's also good to understand why you're doubting yourself. So this is how you overcome it. Face it and own it. Own your doubt. This is what it is. Guess what? Let's deal with it and let's move on.
All right, now let's hear from Madonna on that very same topic of doubting and challenges.
I must admit that there have been a few moments of doubts, especially during periods when I get so busy and tired of working. And then there are times when the business is so slow and you think, but I've used so much of my time and energy, and I've invested so much financially, why am I doing this at this age when I could be using my time to do what I said I love, traveling and just enjoying myself and not being bothered about, you know, doing this right and doing and following all the rules that come with community tourism, and everything has to be on point, and thinking of make sure everything is okay, that you don't get bad reviews and all of that. I said, why did I get myself into that? I say that sometimes. But then I remind myself that all businesses have challenges, especially to begin. You have teething problems. And before you're able to reap the benefits, there'll be mountains to climb, there'll be hurdles to overcome. And so I take time to breathe, and I remind myself that in my life, in my personal life, as well as my professional life, there have been many challenges that I've overcome. There have been a lot of hard work that I have done. And then, thinking about it, I look back at the things that I've been able to achieve and the things I have done, the things I've accomplished, and smile and say, it was really worth it. Others have benefited from my expertise and from my skills. And I believe at this stage, for me, just to be sitting and relaxing, that would not be rewarded enough for me. I have to get myself engaged in something meaningful, something that I love. I know hard work brings results if you're persistent, if you're consistent, if you will reap the benefits. So I encourage myself in that way.
All right, there you have it. Okay, so Lisa said, yeah, she it happened to her several times, and Madonna had her, back and forth because of the type of business that she runs. But what about you? Your self-doubt and your skepticism and even the criticism that you get. What is that like for you? Or do you even get it at all?
I am stewing in self doubt. And perhaps if I did not have that, I would have started my business many years ago.
Mm,
So it has always been me doing for others. So, Michelle, if you came to Karen and you said, Karen, I want to start a business, what do I need to do? How do I need to approach it? I will sit with you and guide you through that and make sure that you get it done. I have
yeah.
done that for several people.
Mm-hmm.
But to do it for myself has been my biggest challenge.
Wow.
My biggest challenge is doing this for myself,
Mm-hmm.
for me to make it work for me. When I when I said to you that I kind of found myself forced into doing this, and you said maybe the word forced is not the proper word, but I wanted to use that word so you could understand where I was operating from.
Right. And probably how it felt to
I,
you.
and so I have friends and supporters who have said to me, why don't you start your own business, Karen? Why are you not doing this for yourself? And I say, yeah, man. But when I get home with my quiet self, I'm telling myself, are you crazy, girl? What are you doing? You have no money. You have nothing that you can fall back on right now. How are you getting a business done? What are you doing? Um, and so, and even with my events, my brain operates like I said to you when you asked me, and we were talking about people just calling and picking your brain. My brain
Mm-hmm.
operates in that way. I'll be sitting here now, Michelle, and think of an event that I can do.
Wow.
And in my head, I know every single thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
But to get it done for myself, I'm not doing that. if somebody comes to me with an idea of the same thing or something similar, and I am doing it for somebody else, it's getting done. Huh? Whatever I have to do to get it done is getting done. And so self-doubt is something that I live with every day. If I
Wow.
was not in that space in terms of business, maybe
Mm-hmm.
right now I would be running a very profitable business. And every day I have to have a conversation with myself to tell myself, you are doing this now and you're not going to turn away from it. You have started the journey and you are going to complete it and you are going to make it make sense. So,
Right.
yes, you operating now from job to job and paycheck to paycheck. Um, and it's scruffy, it's hard, financially it's hard because
Mm-hmm.
I have always been able to take care of myself financially, pay my bills, buy stuff that I need. I'm not an extravagant person, but I have always been in a situation where I have been able to take care of me. I am
Right.
able to do that now in the manner in which I have been accustomed to.
Mm-hmm.
Can't do, I because I am making do, but I have had to cut back on a lot of things. Um, and so some days I wake up and I say, boy, can I really do this? Can I get this done? Um, so it is something that is very real and
Mm-hmm.
that I sit with myself on a daily basis, I would say. I sit with myself on that. And I still find myself in a position of not having an issue with helping somebody else do it. But for Karen to do it, um, it's been a challenge. And
Well, I can empathize there with you, Karen, because again, this is what you call the service of professional services business, and because of that, there's always, because of what we do, because even for myself, my expertise in crafting an idea and making an idea work and structuring it and putting things together to the point where it can launch and then move forward, that is something that can work out in my brain like that. I can literally put things in place like this while I'm on a conversation,
mhm,
and then be able to say, okay, that, and then start putting dots together, and immediately, the whirlwinds are working, and then the inspiration is coming, and then I'm literally mapping it out in my head, and then I have to catch myself and say, but wait, hold on, you need to stop, you need to stop. This person hasn't paid you yet. You need to have this conversation. I have to literally pull myself back and have this conversation with myself and say, you know what, hold on to that, please hold on to that. Write down what it is that's in your head. So that's what I do. I take notes, and then we have the conversation about, the compensation and so on. And in the case of persons that I have assisted but I have not yet done it for myself, what I find that I do is that I go back and I read to myself what I wrote for that person, and I say, okay, this is what I need to do for myself now. So
mhm,
sometimes I just need a bit of a reminder that's
mhm.
what it is. Because if I don't do that, I won't act on it. So I literally have to go back and look at what I did for this person and say, okay, now do this for yourself. And this is what I've started doing. Only recently, I've started doing this for myself because I've realized that I put so much effort into helping other people achieve what they need to achieve that I stayed behind. I
Exactly that.
And I'm like,
Exactly that.
what is this? I mean,
Exactly that.
what
So I
is
have been having these conversations with myself, Karen telling Karen, are you really not, no, no, you're not making any sense. Because if
Mhm.
somebody came to you and asked about this, you would be assisting them. You would be the person pushing them to get their stuff done. Why
Yep,
are you not doing it for yourself? Why
exactly.
is it so hard for you to do it for yourself?
Mm.
I am blessed because I have had people in my corner encouraging me and supporting me. I do not think that I have said to any one person that I want to go into business and they have said, no, Karen, that's crazy.
Oh,
Not
praise
one
the
person.
Lord. You're blessed for true.
Yes, not one person. But it is because the people in my circle are people who have been around me for a while, and these are people who have seen me operate on a professional scale in different areas and have seen me do these things. And so when I say, me do that for, how am I going to make that work? They look at me sideways like, but isn't that the same thing that you just did for so and so? And they find it, and I can tell you, I remember speaking to one of my girlfriends, and I said, it's really bad, I mean, I'm in a position now, I'm not at work, I'm not. And she said, what do you mean you're not at work? I said, well, I'm not at work. She said, well, what are you doing? So I said, well, I'm thinking of taking my events seriously and doing it, opening my own little events thing. And she said, well, it's about time, Karen.
Ah,
And I looked at her like, I said, okay. She said, yeah. She said, everybody keeps coming, and you giving out your intellectual property, you give it out free of charge. It's about time you start to do things for yourself and charge for that. She said, every day I tell you that, charge for that. I people come and ask you questions and I hear you answering them and I want to tap you because I want to be quiet until the person pay you.
you
You
know, all
know,
that has happened to me. My goodness.
right. So
Heaven.
so for me, the self-doubt thing is a very real thing. And I will venture to say that, like you said, Michelle, I am blessed. And if I was not in a position where other people saw that in me and were supporting me, I probably would not have done it. It is because the people in my circle have been pushing me to do it. When I said I was going to do paralegal on an independent scale,
Mm-hmm.
I I called one of my attorney friends and I said to her, I'm thinking of doing this. You think it can work? And she started to laugh. She said, what do you mean if I think it can work? Who's
My
doing it?
goodness.
You? I said, yes, me. She said, but that's a no-brainer. You don't even have to ask if this can work. You just have to position yourself. And there are a number of attorneys who do not have offices, but they need paralegal assistance. You
Mm-hmm.
need to find out in that area and position yourself so that these people know that you offer that service and they will come to you because your reputation goes before you. Anybody who asks, and just recently I had that conversation with another attorney that I had never met in my life. Never met in my life. I knew of him, brilliant attorney.
Mm-hmm.
And he said to me, so you do paralegal work? I said, yes. He said, well, which attorneys have you worked with, and what is your experience? So I smiled and I said, well, I worked with a number of them. And I said, I worked with Tyrone Chong for a long time. And when I said that, he looked at me. He said, oh, so you, Chong, is secretary. Okay, then. He said, you don't need to tell me anything else. I know. And so he said, so you're operating at home now? You're in an office? I said, no, I operate mostly from home. So I do my work and I get it done. And he says, okay. He said, nice to meet you. There'll be work. There's always work for you. There'll be work coming. And I thought, ooh, yes, yes, yes. I'm
There you go.
you
There
know,
you go.
it
And I want to carry us into our next question because you said something there which actually lines beautifully with the next question that I have there, which is how can communities, organizations, and people support individuals that are starting later in life? Because in your case, you have a support system, you have a network. But then what about those persons who don't have that? Like, do those even exist? Actual organized communities or organizations that are there to support mature persons who want to start late in life. The future of entrepreneurship is what I'm talking about for mature audiences. And listen to this, eh? I don't even think that this should be a conversation for if does that exist. To me, it should have existed a long time ago
it
because
doesn't though.
these small shops that we have were run by mature people. What you talking about? These are things that should already exist. You understand?
Mm-mm.
But now everything wants to be all formal. Everybody wants everything to be all formal. So then why is it that you are neglecting the very persons where this all came from, that started this thing, which is the mature persons in the first place? So they're being left behind, and the younger ones, the younger generation, is where everything is being pumped into. I'm not saying that the younger generation should not receive and should not get support, but what about those that started it all? We all came from an ancestral background. We all started from there. We all started from the grandmother who sold this, the grandfather who did that. Where was the support for them? What's the formal support for them? So what we're saying is that everything is now being formalized and organized and structured, but we are now forgetting that part of us. We're forgetting the older folks, like they don't exist. There's nothing for them. And we're going to go into that next, talking about what they think the future of entrepreneurship would look like for mature persons. Let's listen to to what they had to say. And Karen, of course, I'm going to come back to you on that. I mean, you gave a little bit on it, but I definitely want to hear what Lisa and Madonna has to say to that particular question. These ladies are spicy, I'm telling you, eh? And they give some truths that I really love and I enjoy. They give some really hard truths. So let's listen to Lisa first and then Madonna.
Okay. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to SLUDTERA, Michelle and Samuel. She is doing a fantastic, fantastic job in putting together a community of entrepreneurs. She's putting the awareness out there, and so far, she started as like a tiny little dot on social media, like a tiny double negative, like a tiny little dot in the business world. And now she has grown from tiny, I would not say big, huge, but phenomenal, that I would say. She has been able to penetrate through certain entities that would have in the past not take her seriously or not even take her on, period. And she has made a lot of businesses, including my business, be recognized certain areas. When I told her that I was doing the caregiving aspect, this woman made me feel as if I won the lottery. She was one of my biggest supporters, and she still is. But I'd like to say thank you to the Lord for inspiring me to do certain things, not giving up on my hope, on my dreams. And I really do pray that one day, as I said, that I would be like a referral system in terms of persons who would say, even though there is somebody else, they will say, I heard about this business, this lady, Lisa Yan, on a bus, in church, on the street, at her home, speaking, and then she said something that really made me want to do something for a change. She solved a problem that I didn't know I had. And I want to say thank you, Michelle, for that. The future of entrepreneurs my age for mature adults is good. It's good because once you can solve a problem, it's good. Once you can really, really speak to that community that has a problem and you can solve it for them, it looks good. The future is bright with them. And I believe if they can trust, put their trust in somebody like SLUDTERA or Michelle Samuel or any of its members to guide them along the way, I think they should.
Note that was not a plugin for myself, guys. Just so you know, that was not a plugin for myself. That was not orchestrated, nor was that scripted. That was purely Lisa. I was totally shocked when I listened to it the first time. So that was not a plug for myself. Just saying that off the bat, okay? But again, I really do appreciate Lisa for her kind words and for her recommendations and so on. I appreciate that, Lisa. So let's go on to Madonna now.
Future of entrepreneurship for mature adults look promising. With a wealth of experience, with networking, resilience, as I keep mentioning, older adults are well equipped to launch successful ventures. Older adults bring a unique perspective that blends traditional knowledge with modern innovation. You must bring passion into what you're doing. You must be one who does not give up easily. There are doors that will open to you if you keep your eyes open. Communities and organizations can play a significant role in supporting this demographic by offering targeted resources such as mentorship programs, skills development workshops, and networking opportunities, creating age-friendly startup incubators and access to funding tailored for this group. If you listen well, you will see that there are many opportunities for learning, for growth, for collaboration, for support. Don't stay on your own. Keep your ears to the ground. Talk to other people. You will get the support if you put your foot in the door. So don't be one that gives up too quickly.
There we have it. Contributions from Lisa and Madonna. Okay, so over to you. Now, there were a couple of things that Madonna stated that I definitely agree with. The age appropriate incubators and the mentorship and the programs and so on. This I definitely 100% agree with her. Do they exist to your knowledge? And if not, why not? And who should start them? You're muted, eh?
I think in a lot of instances, older entrepreneurs are looked at as being self-reliant. So people think that the younger people need the support. They need to be told how to behave, how to maneuver, how to apply for things, they need to be taught. So because you're always thinking that a young person needs to be taught. And so the teaching, of course, usually happens by the older person who is teaching the younger person what to do. And so people see you at a certain age and they think,
You've got it all figured out?
that's right. But entrepreneurship is a different kettle of fish. And I so agree with Madonna when she says that it needs to be age appropriate. So you said there's always been our people back then who had their shops. They probably would have had their shops and they saw their parents with a shop and they continued it. So they lived in that area. But right now, what you have is because of the way we have evolved, the use of technology and all of those things, there is a learning skew that needs to happen in the older people. And we
Yes.
take for granted that because they are more experienced, that they already know these things. So, for example, grant proposal writing is not only for the youth economy.
Exactly.
Definitely needs to be for the older entrepreneur. And every time I see something advertised and there is an age limit attached to it, I scratch my head because I wonder, sometimes they say St. Lucia is not a real place. I wonder if we see what is going on in the outside world. The US just elected an 80 plus year old to be their president. I don't know that this would happen in St. Lucia because as soon as you get to a certain age, you're too old to do everything, except if you're male, of course. Um, and so we do not have that. Now, a lot of times as well, um, going back to what I said about myself and my personal network,
Mm-hmm.
I really did not understand, and even now, I don't think I do understand the wealth that I have in my network. And I will tell you why I say that I don't think I do. Because some days we're talking about something and somebody will say, and I will say, me, I getting that done. And more than likely, the person that I am saying that to will tell me, you, the people that you know, no, Karen, the people that you know, supposed to make it so that you can get these things done easily because you know all of these people. Now, because people see me in that light, they
Mm-hmm.
assume that I can do it
Ah.
because I am associated with all of this. But you seeing that does not necessarily mean that I see it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that support is really absolutely necessary for the older entrepreneur, and not just the 50 plus, but really those people who are, and we live in a world now where really and truly age does not matter. When I was finished with doing my, I had been working in the legal world for a while, um, but I had never gotten certification in legal studies because for me it was just something that I liked. It's a hobby that I like. So yes, I do it, but I was not thinking of it as a career kind of thing.
Right.
But now that I decided I was going to take it in as part of my business, my independent business, I said, okay, let me do the paralegal certification. I did it. I got a distinction.
Wow.
And
Congratulations.
thank you. One of the attorneys that I do work with, when I said to her, I said, no, I didn't even tell her. Her secretary, we were talking, and she said me, Karen, you finished what you were doing? I said, yeah, I got a distinction, you know. She was like, yeah, you always studying and doing something for some days. People like me, not so much. So I said, yes. So when she came in, she told her boss, Karen got her certificate, you know. So she said, the certificate in what, Karen? She said, oh, you got your paralegal certificate? I said, yes. She said, all right, but now it's time to do the law degree. I said, no. I said, I'm not doing a degree now in law. At my age, are you crazy? She looked at me sideways and she said, she called the name of an attorney, another attorney. She said to me, when she went to do her degree, she was older than you and she's practicing.
Mm.
So what are you telling me about you and this nonsense with this? You don't want to do your law degree now. I just laughed. I said, yeah, well, that was a, but it's not something that I'm thinking of, honestly. Um, so yes, a little push is necessary. Um, and the little push comes every now and again from the network that you have that you do not know that you have.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you are not aware of who you have in your space and what you can glean from them. And as an older entrepreneur, it is something that you need to do for yourself. I say again that most people see the older entrepreneur as being self-reliant, and that is why there is not a lot of support for it, because you people look at it as though you have the experience, you've been there, you know what you're doing, so you don't really need the support. And that is not true, because working
Right.
in somebody's office and doing things for them in that space does not mean that you understand how to operate a business for yourself on your own. And the same challenges that the younger entrepreneur
The
has.
older ones face it as well. Mm-hmm.
How do you keep your books? When you have to do a report, what are you doing? If you have to put a proposal together for the bank, how are you doing this? When I went to open an account for my business, the bank asked me for financial projections. Now let me tell you, I did financial projections many years ago when I was doing my master's degree.
Right.
I didn't want to sit down and do projections. And I looked at the officer and I said, I said, I have to give you projections for how long? She said, for at least 6 months, 6 months to a year. I was like, wow. I have to go home and sit down and work in my head.
Mm-hmm.
What am I doing? How am I charging? What are my projections? How am I seeing money come
Basically
in?
putting you to work, sending you to do an assignment.
That is correct. And I literally am sitting down at my desk, and I'm now it forced me to sit down and look at my business in a particular way,
Mm-hmm.
because up till then I was not thinking of projections and money streams coming in and how. But when I had to sit down and do it for the bank,
Yeah.
now I definitely know I am in business,
Yes.
because bank is expecting me to bring in the money
Bring
that
in
I
the money and pay what you need to pay. That's
what
right.
I need to pay. So
Mm-hmm.
these are not skills that the ordinary person will have, or the ordinary entrepreneur will have. And so that kind of support is absolutely necessary. It is very lacking. And even when you get community groups and those things, the focus is not on the older person.
Very
But
true.
the older person really is more stable. There's
Mm-hmm.
more stability in that older entrepreneur, because the older entrepreneur would be the person who has sat down and looked at the thing from all angles and said, yeah, boy, let me look at the risk of doing this. And now
Mm-hmm.
that I have looked at the risk of doing this, am I really prepared to take that risk on? And when
Right.
an older entrepreneur says, yes, I'm ready to take that risk on, it means that they have looked at everything from all angles to see how it is happening. Um,
Right.
and so it is very, very necessary for that type of support to be around. But I do not see a lot of it at all. I don't see it there at all. I think most people and most organizations see older entrepreneurs as being in a space, being very self-reliant, and they leave you in that space to battle it on your own. And then, of course, the ageism thing will come in. So after they have left you on your own to battle it on your own, without giving you that support, when it comes around to the financing, and then that is start to tell you about how old you are. Mind you, as they're telling you that you are old and you are too old, there are other businesses being run by people who are older than you and being
Mm-hmm.
run successfully,
Mm-hmm.
that the banks are looking at.
And not just that too, they're also looking at the level of risk with you. Yes, you have your experience, you may have your degrees, you may have your qualifications, but they're also looking at um, how much longer can this person live. They're looking at that too.
Which is
they're
silly, eh?
looking at they're looking at lifespan.
Which is very silly, because
Mhm.
if we are realistic, if we look at our world realistically, there is nothing saying that a 25-year-old will live longer than I am, that I will live at 50 plus. There's nothing saying that, because a
Mm,
25-year-old can die tomorrow the same way as I can die tomorrow.
that is very
So
true.
you can
That is
give a
very true.
25-year-old a loan, um, that he will not be able to pay, and you can do that with a 60-year-old as well. And so I think it is getting that level of balance. Maybe the balance needs to be, okay, fine, I will consider giving 100,000 to this person, but I will not give you 100,000 now. I will give you 50,000, and when I see what you are doing, then we will have a conversation again, and the possibility of getting the other 50,000 will be in there. But to just say, at 60 years old, I ain't giving you no loan, that is wrong. That is a terrible approach, because even in our country right now, we have 60-year-old entrepreneurs who
Hmm.
are flourishing and whose money is very good at the bank, and the bank will not blink to give them money. They will not look at their age, but the reason that they're not looking at their age is because they have made the money. So
Precisely.
60 years and 50 years and 65 years, and if we are serious about retirement age, so what nonsense are you telling me now? Retirement age is 63, and we're looking to put it up to 65. But at 50, you're going to tell me you're not giving me a loan because I am old. But I have another 15 years to go before I get retired because NIC not looking at me. If something happened to me now, I have to prove to NIC that I deserve a little bit of money. Because
Yes,
they
because
can,
you have to be working at least 10 consecutive years prior to your retirement
yes,
contribution
yes.
for you to
And
get
not only
anything
that, they
for
will
the
tell you,
years that you
I am
contributed.
I am not of retirement age right now. If I go to NIC now and I say,
You
hey,
will not be able to get
listen,
your contributions. You know that, right?
huh?
You know that if, for example, you had not been making your contributions for 10 years previous to your retirement, if you had
Mm,
gone to them, they would not have gotten your compensation. You know that?
but that is correct. And so
Mhm.
I'm still saying to you, if at 55 I go to NIC and I say, listen, at 50, 55 I go to NIC and I say, I want to retire now. Can we talk about my benefits and giving it to me? They look at me and tell me, no, age of
Mhm.
retirement is 63.
Yep.
So when
That's
you
what I'm
63,
telling
come back and talk to me.
you.
That means
Mhm.
that I need to work. I need to be able to work and earn an income.
Precisely. Precisely.
Cannot tell me at 50 that I am too old to get a loan to run a business when I am far from being at the age of retirement. And so that conversation needs to happen. We need to understand it. We need to have these conversations loudly at the
Mhm.
table where these decisions are being made, and to say that entrepreneurs at that age need the same support. They need the same support. The balance needs to be there. And it
Yes.
is only the younger ones who need to do it. The older ones are doing it, and they are proving that they are doing it, so the support needs to be there for them.
Ah, yes, Karen. And we are going to close off here because we're actually past our time. This has been a really great discussion, especially the final set of questions. See why we needed a part two? See why we needed a part two? Yes, we needed these. And there's still a couple more that I did not plug in. You want to know why? Because this is a conversation that needs to be had. So, what I'm going to tell all of you who are watching and who are listening, please look out for further posts from us regarding this topic from our three ladies. Karen, in this case, you may have to do a couple of recordings for me too for these last couple of questions because we want to capture yours. We want to capture yours. We will be highlighting the feedback, the insights, and these opinions from these women on these topics because they need to be had. As Karen said, these discussions need to be had, and I really wish we had some of those representatives from NIC, from the various banks and other financial institutions to comment on these situations and what they have to say about that, the justification for why it does not exist or why things are the way that they are, and what can be put in place for persons 50 and over, whether you're male or female. Mind you, we haven't even touched gender yet, and gender is a topic by
Yes.
itself,
And gender is a story by itself.
itself. We haven't even touched that. So, guys, look out for further posts from us regarding this. Karen, again, thank you so much for joining. I want to allow you to give you your final thoughts, your thank yous, and any of your final words. This is your time to share so that we can close off.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you for the opportunity to share. It's been very interesting. I really have appreciated the conversations, and listening to other women with the same experiences discuss and share what their experiences is. I think that's how we learn and that's how we grow. So I'm very grateful for that opportunity to share my journey and to also be part of other women's journeys. Like I said when we were ending the last time, my advice to anybody who wants to get into entrepreneurship is take that step and walk the walk. Um, it is something that you have to be very purposeful about. If it is something that you want to do not allow anybody to tell you that you cannot do it. You have to purpose yourself that this is what you are going to do. And then you make it work for yourself. You put the plans together and you work the plans and you make it work for yourself. There is always, always support. Sometimes you are not aware of how much support you have, which is one of my life lessons. Um, I was not aware of how much support that I had. And so sometimes you are not aware of your network and the support that you have. But there is always, always that support. You just need to find that support and lean on it when you need to. Um, and continue the journey. It's not going to be a bed of roses. Well, actually, it is a bed of roses because there are the flowers and there are the thorns and there are the leaves. So you just need to decide on which one you're concentrating on at the time. Thank you, Michelle, so much.
Wonderfully said. So, again, thank you so much, Karen, for being here with me this evening. And I hope and pray that things improve with time. I wish you all the best with your new business. We will be connecting again because, like I said, we have to host some events. We have to do some events. We have a venue, we have you to do the events. We just need to put something together so we can do some age appropriate, wonderfully exciting stuff. I'm excited about it. So again, thank you so much, Karen. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Good night, everyone.
And we have two other ladies who have some final thoughts for us. So we're going to start with Lisa and then we'll move on to Madonna for her final thoughts.
To thank this opportunity. I really do thank you, Michelle. I do thank SLUDTERA for having me gracefully come on. And I wish every entrepreneur out there all the best. And don't forget, failure is not stopping you. Failure only means that you can succeed. Probably not that way, but another way. So don't stop trying. Thank you and bye.
Gentlemen, it has been an honor and a pleasure to be here with you and to share my experience and my journey. A heartfelt thank you to Mrs. Michelle Samuel, who reached out to me and requested that I participate on this esteemed panel. Your efforts and that of your team in creating this platform are deeply appreciated. I'm honored to have been given an opportunity to contribute to such an inspiring event. Remember, entrepreneurs, you are not just building a business, you are crafting a legacy that reflects your passion and dedication. So keep inspiring those around you with your courage and your tenacity. Here's to new beginnings and endless possibilities. Cheers to the incredible journey ahead. And finally, I would like to leave with you a quote from my favorite book, the Bible, which I've used all my life. Philippians 4, verse 13. I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. You could do the same if you give him the chance to help you do all things through him who gives you the strength.
And there we have it. There we have it. Thank you so much to our ladies. Thank you so much to you, the audience who have been viewing, who have been with us from day one. Thank you. This basically culminates all of our GEW events from us at SLUDTERA, celebrating entrepreneurship is for everyone. It has been a whirlwind experience. From the 18th, we have been going strong all the way to today. I hope and pray that each or any of these events that you would have watched or attended or participated in would have impacted you in some way, shape, or form. I really do hope that you have a better appreciation for entrepreneurship and for understanding that entrepreneurs are the founding blocks, the foundation of any society, not neglecting our older, mature persons. Let us remember to show appreciation, to say hello, to respect. And when I say respect, I'm talking about small business owners. They are going through a journey, a very trying journey, wearing several hats at a time. When you purchase from them, give them an encouraging word. Try your best not to ridicule their prices. Try your best not to ask for discounts. That's not necessary. You can do that at the larger stores. You can do that at the bigger stores. You can do that at the stores that are making money. Don't do that to a small business owner. If you want to support a small business owner, buy from them, promote them, refer other people to them, encourage them. And to those of you who tuned in to especially this particular event, those of you who are 50 and over and who are genuinely interested in having a formal, more organized setting for more mature persons, a support system. This is one of the things that I am very skilled at doing as well, which is creating an ecosystem. Let us work together to create that. It doesn't exist, let's create it. That's all there is to it. If it doesn't exist, we'll create it. Don't wait for change, create it. Something I learned from my time at Wildlife. So to those of you watching, thank you again. And I hope and pray that you enjoyed all of the events that took place in St. Lucia, throughout the island, in partnership with the St. Lucia Chamber of Commerce. Thank you again for partnering with us for that. Under the Ministry of Commerce as well. SBDC, who had their own events. We had Youth Economy Agency having their events. There are events that were happening all throughout the island. So I'm hoping and praying that you were able to at least attend one or more of those. And for those of you who attended our events, I hope that they each made an impact. And like I said, if you want to connect with anyone who was either a panelist or a speaker or participated in any of our events, please reach out to us. Fill out our surveys. They are readily available in the descriptions of our videos. Please fill them out and we will help to connect you with our panelists. We have some great activities and events coming up after this week is done. So look out for them. We have some great things in store for you. So again, have a wonderful evening. Have a blessed Sunday. And I hope and pray that as the week goes, as the week comes and goes, that you feel blessed and that you take that time to bless someone else. Good night, everyone.